Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Urban Updates September edition. If you have forgotten, I'm Megan Ayers with the Urban Soil Health in the Southeast. Today, we are really excited to offer a grower profile with Adriano Fabbri. He is in um, Crooked Creek neighborhood outside of Indianapolis. And so I'm going to let him take it away here so we can just hit the ground running. And Adriano, why don't you take it away?
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me, everybody. Let me see if I can go ahead and share my screen here. Awesome. Can everybody see?
Yep.
Awesome. So yeah, I thank you for everyone for being here and for having me. I'm going to share with you a little bit about what I have going on at my urban homestead in the Crooked Creek neighborhood. This is just a little map. You can sort of see where my location is and an aerial view of the property. It looks like that was taken a couple years ago, but it gives you the gist. The plot itself, it's a little bit under a half acre on the main site. We purchased that in 2018, and lucky for me, the house is actually it's placed at the very back of the property, and we're south facing. So my entire property gets full sun. And when we purchased it, I really had no idea how awesome that was going to be, or that I'd be doing any of this. But the I'm sorry, probably 2 years ago, we purchased the property across the street as well, and that's going to be a secondary site that I just started to develop. But it is as I start filling up my property and adding more fruit trees and space dwindling, I'm very happy to have that secondary site as a blank canvas to continue my work. One of the things that I'm really proud of in the Crooked Creek neighborhood is that we are recognized as one of the most diverse neighborhoods in Indy. And as I'm getting more involved in the neighborhood and the community, that's something that we take a lot of pride in over here. Now, a little bit about who we are. So Samantha is my partner. We're the owners. I do all the growing, but she helps. I couldn't do any of this stuff without her. She does all the processing, the preserving, helps me with my planning, my calendars, and none of this would really be possible at all without her. And then we have our security team to the left. I'm sorry, to the right. We've got Drexel. He's the old man, the guardian of the grounds, and he is taking care of all my squirrels and birds and keeping everything off of my yields. The butcher is my little kitty cat, and he's the night patrol guy. He's always bringing back all the mice and mold and things of that nature. But that's our family, and then we also have the ladies of the flock. I don't want to forget about them. But I want to tell you a little bit about us. We are from the Chicagoland area originally, the north suburbs more specifically. Um, we moved here in 2018, and both of us had some gardening exposure, but nothing at all to this scale. So we're all always learning on the go, and the majority of my education has been informal and on YouTube, things of that nature. The property, again, we bought it in 2018. Now, at the time, I was in a sales role, and it had been for almost a decade. And I want to stop here for a second and really emphasize this point, because this is really what pushed me into the trajectory and on this path. Is I was in sales, making 300 phone calls a day, sitting behind a desk, and very unhappy. Even though I was making the money I wanted to make, I felt something was missing, and part of my soul was just not resonating. and not feeling the way that I wanted to feel. So going through that hardship and that misery, to be quite frank, was what pushed me into starting to live this type of a lifestyle. And then at the time, Samantha, she was a livestock coordinator at Paramount Schools. So she always had a um, a passion for animals and animal husbandry. So she was the one who said, "Hey, let's go ahead and just get some chickens." And that's how it started. We got some chickens, and then in 2019, said, "Let's make a little garden bed." Now you can see right here, down here, this is my first little garden bed, and this is what started it all. Small little thing. I think I had some tomatoes, some cucumbers, and some herbs, and then I planted some flowers in the little holes of the cinder blocks. Um, but that is what started it all, and that's when I started to realize, hey, I really like the feeling of being out here. So we still currently work full-time jobs. And the goal for me, at least, is to start a fruit tree nursery, fruit and nut tree nursery, and then also do permaculture design so that I can actually install the nursery stock that I'm propagating. And that's sort of the vision here, but I wanted to show you a little bit about how the progression sort of went through the years. So after that cinder block bed in 2020, we decided, okay, we're gonna raise our game up a little bit. So we made 10, you can't see them all in here, but we made 10 no dig beds that were 3 foot by 12 foot. And all we did was we laid down 2 layers of cardboard, threw compost over the top, and just planted directly into them. This is when I really started to think, I love this. I want to do more of this, but I don't think I can develop the rest of the property in this way. Or it's already taking a lot of my energy to do this by myself. So that's sort of what made me realize there's got to be a better way than just row crops, the old fashioned way. Now down here you can sort of see what it looks like in the middle of the season, but that realization that I was just talking about is what got me into permaculture. I had all this extra land and I wanted to develop it, but there was no way I could energetically keep up if I just kept adding beds for annuals. So I started to learn about permaculture and started just framing out little beds for guilds. And you can see in here what the beginning stages of that look like. I quite literally just took fallen tree branches, framed out the beds, added some mulch, let that start to break down. But admittedly, I sort of did things out of order. Instead of starting with my fruit nut trees, I wanted to see a yield right away. So what I did was I bought a bunch of fruiting shrubs because I wanted fruit right away, and I was very anxious and wanted to quite literally see the fruits of my labor in less time. If I could go back, I would probably do that in a different order, but it is all working out. So that's a little bit of what that looked like in its early stages. And then now I actually have added all my fruit trees in this area. Not all of them, but am adding them. And then on this, currently I'm starting to propagate and get my nursery up and running. And that's where all my focus is now. So I'm propagating, I'm air layering, I'm doing cuttings, I'm learning how to graft, and I'm trying to get that all honed in. And then again, the goal is to start my own nursery and permaculture practice. This is a little blueprint, a map of the property and what I have growing. There are a few things that I still need to add that I'm putting in this fall, but we sort of divided it into quadrants. So here we've got quadrant one. This space, there are some perennials, but for the most part, this is a place for us to gather and bring people together. And there's some herbs and things of that nature that we could go out the front door, just grab for cooking. But this isn't really focused on growing anything other than ornamentals. But over here in quadrant two, this is the annual bed space. These are the original beds that you could see in those pictures, all 10 of them. The only changes that we made here was the fence used to be right here at the end of the 10 beds. We pushed that back. We took away a little bit of space from the chicken run, and then we added 3 raised beds here. And then along this fence line, we added 1 super long bed and then 3 more beds outside of the fence line. Now over in quadrant 3, this is more of a nursery and propagation station, for lack of better words. But here we've got my greenhouse. This down here is the original cinder block bed that started it all. Right now it's just asparagus and strawberries because we won't get into that, but it's farthest away from the water source, so I wanted to grow something I didn't have to tend to very much at all. Down here is the berm where we've got all our bush cherries and our Nanking cherries, sweet cherries, things of that nature. And then along the driveway is where I do all my propagating. We have our little pollinator garden and propagation station. Outside that fence line, we seeded a tall native grass prairie last fall. So it's on its first year. And then quadrant 4 is my favorite. This is the food forest. This is where I like to spend most of my time, if not all of my time. This is where I'm happiest, and this is what I'm having the most enjoyment in developing and really using as a canvas to show what you can grow in a space that's not 50 acres. The most recent addition to the food forest here was the pawpaw patch outside the fence line here. And I can show you some pictures of what this kind of looks like here. This was quadrant 1. You can sort of see here, not only just barren grass, it's mostly dead grass and mud. And that is what it looks like now. There's just some sea berries growing down the driveway line that I'm propagating and using as nitrogen fixers in the fruit tree guilds. And then in quadrant 3, this was just sort of a barren berm. I started to dig around and it was absolutely just riddled and covered with landscape fabric. And all the plants, the grass, the weeds were grown into the fabric. So it took me a really long time just to peel that back. And it was that experience alone that um, sort of just realizing, hey, I'm not going to use landscape fabric much if I don't have to. It was really hard to pull up. It definitely didn't help the soil health was extremely compact and hard. So that was really a blank canvas. And I'm still in the process of getting that soil to aerate with roots from, native plants and things of that nature. There's a picture of it to the right here. And the berm now, it's got bush cherries. This is a sweet cherry that's blocking the rest of the view, but there's persimmons in there, a few different varieties of sweet cherries, and then a little pollinator patch right here, the greenhouse in the background. And then quadrant 2, when we first started, you could quite literally see all the way back into the annual garden over here and the chicken coop. There was nothing obstructing your vision, just barren, dead grass. This is a picture of what it sort of looks like now. And it's sort of hard to see what's going on in here, but this is a peach tree here. We've got a bunch of stuff in here for the pollinators. And just of what I can see, there's comfrey, asparagus, goji berries, lovage, all kinds of herbs. And that's really what I'm going for here. I'm trying to make an ecosystem that's as diverse as possible. I want to see the soil food web grow, but I'm also seeing the ecosystem grow above ground. And what I was seeing in the before picture versus now is night and day. The butterflies, the dragonflies, the the moths, I mean, just all sorts of life. And that is one of the things that's really been inspiring to me is seeing that transformation. Quadrant 4 is also the back end of the food forest. Same thing, completely dead, nothing there. And then this is what it looks like today. And just to run through a few of the things that are over here, we've got a little sorghum patch here. And I'm actually using this. I will feed that to my chickens or make flour from it, but I'm using this as a way to break up the hard compacted soil. And then I'm going to plant a tree right here, either this fall or spring. I haven't decided yet, but I'm sort of using that sorghum to break up the heavy clay and prepare that spot for planting. And here in this guild here, we've got a peach tree right behind that. There's an apple, and then all along the understory, we've got things like honeyberries, haskcaps, we've got gooseberries, currants, josta berries, all the understory shrubs that are already yielding. And then on this one, same thing, just an apple and a bunch of different fruiting shrubs in the understory. And then along the fence line, we've got several varieties of blackberries. There's an elderberry, some pear trees. All along the back, there's American persimmons, and the fence line is just different varieties of raspberries. So the soil health practices that we practice over here, number one, all of our beds are no-till. A, because I've learned it's way better for the soil structure and the soil food web, but B, energetically speaking, it makes way more sense. I'm not going to say no dig, I'm going to say no till because I do broad fork in the spring before I plant, but that's the extent of it. We just quite literally lay down cardboard. I don't even use a tarp. It's just cardboard, kills the weeds, compost over the top, and then I plant directly in it. I have noticed that year one, it's not quite as abundant as the following years. I think it takes a little bit of time for those beds to fully establish, but I still have success planting right into the compost on top of the cardboard. In terms of cover crops, I am still very much experimenting with cover crops, but the ones that I have used intentionally are clover, oats, peas, buckwheat, tiller radish, sorghum, and green manure. Again, I have other nitrogen fixing plants and trees on my property, but these are the ones that I've used intentionally. Heavy mulching has been a game changer for me, not even just in the beds, but the pathways. I'll use straw in a lot of my annual beds, but hardwood wood chips have been the biggest game changer for me. I use them in the pathways of my annual garden. I will use them in all of the beds and the pathways of my food forest. I have noticed the life coming in to those areas almost immediately when I do that. But the following year, if you go ahead and just dig your hands into that soil and see the humus and the life in it, that's been the biggest game changer. I have a arborist friend who calls me when he has hardwood chips that he knows hasn't been sprayed or tainted in any way. And he goes ahead and he just delivers them right to my door. He doesn't have to pay a dump fee to go get rid of them. And I'm obviously happy as well. We do a lot of chop and drop with bioaccumulators. I'm not going to go down the list of different stuff that we're chopping and dropping, but I'll say the number one thing since I've started planting comfrey at the base of my fruit trees, that has been the best bioaccumulator that I have used thus far. And it just is so abundant and learning about how deep those tap roots go, it is really bringing up nutrients that is not accessible through other means. And it brings it to the surface, and I just chop, drop it, mulch it around the fruit trees, and they seem to love it. In terms of irrigation, we are on a well, so I'm not on city water, but I'm hand watering everything. And that's another reason I've gotten so much more into permaculture and planting perennials, because hand watering, I like doing it because I get to see what's going on. I use it sort of as my walkthrough through the garden. As I'm watering, I can observe and see what's going on. But the reality of the situation is I have so much time in a day. I am working a full-time job, and I'm not going to be able to hand water a half acre every single day. I have a rain collection system on the other side of the house. It's a rain barrel, but I don't use that on any of my food crops because I have an asphalt roof, and I don't know how much that would affect the quality or taint the food, but I'm just not taking that risk. So I will just go ahead and use that on flowers, and sort of have that there as a emergency backup.
Hey, Adriano,
Yes.
this is Megan. There's a question in the chat. They want to know how your water use outside has changed over time as the ecology has developed, since you're talking about watering right
That
now.
that's a great question, and thank you for whoever asked that. But I would say that that's a pretty easy answer. The annuals, I'm still having. I'd have to say it hasn't changed much. They might be a little bit more resilient, but that could also be because I'm saving seeds. But in terms of the permaculture and the food forest, the perennials, I almost don't have to water at all. I do have a sprinkler. I will set out, like we had that stretch where it was, mid to high 90s for almost over 2 weeks. I did put a sprinkler out there. I'm not sure if I necessarily needed to, but I do have some plants out there like hascaps, and very young pawpaws that are seedlings that don't necessarily love full sun, that for that long of a period of time. So I did put a sprinkler out there. I don't think that I even needed to though. The deep mulching, you can still go and dig your hands into the wood chips, and it's only a few inches down even after a week of no rain, and there's moisture. So I have definitely seen year one, I had to go around and water to keep everything alive when I first planted them. And now I will sometimes almost just as a nervous tick. I don't think that it's really even necessary. And that's why I have to say out of everything that the heavy mulching of the wood chips in the paths and beds um, were the biggest game changer. And then once those perennial roots get down there, I really just think that that's the beauty of permaculture, is that it sort of just takes care of itself and takes care of you, after that. I hope that answered the question sufficiently. And I don't see the chat, so if somebody has a question, please just do that exactly what you just did because I don't see the chat. Now in terms of yeah, so that's all hand watered in the anything that I do need to water, I do it by hand. So nitrogen fixers, I again I have nitrogen fixers that I have on the property that I didn't really plant intentionally for that reason, but the ones that I have planted intentionally are clover, peas, beans, and that's mostly in an annual setting. And then my main nitrogen fixer I'm using in my fruit tree guild is sea buckthorn. Um, there's a lot of different reasons I chose sea buckthorn, but it's mostly because how healthy the fruit is, how easy it is to take care of, and then how easy it is to propagate. And because one of my goals is to have a nursery, I do want something. Some people don't want something that's going to shoot runners up, 10 feet away and be quote unquote invasive, but I just dig them up and pot them up, and I have a brand new nitrogen fixing plant that has a lot of value in a permaculture setting. The ground cover, that is something that I think has also had a huge impact on the soil health. I added strawberries. That was the first thing that I'd used as a perennial ground cover, and a mixture of that. It's just another layer over the wood chips, shading the ground and putting its roots in. And that guild couldn't be happier. The strawberries, I didn't even they're a few years old and I haven't even separated them from their runners, and have produced pounds and pounds of strawberries without doing any of that extra stuff that people do to make sure they continue to produce. And the soil health seems to be even better where I have ground cover in coherence with the wood chips. And then clover, I really like because I see all the pollinators coming in. It's super easy to just throw down seed and watch it come up. And then something that I just recently started experimenting with, because the sweet potatoes I love to grow, but I've only grown them in annual beds. This is the first year I actually put them under a persimmon tree and let that be the ground cover. So I don't know exactly how good it's going to yield, but in terms of the ground cover itself, it looks very full. It's definitely shading the ground, and it seems to be working really, really well. And I'm going to consider doing more of that in the future. That'll actually free up space in my annual beds if it works really well. So I'm excited to see how that works. Now, in terms of season extension, I think that I have a lot of improving I can do here. The two things that I use the most are my little greenhouse, and I've used low tunnels, but I did one this year. I had a tree fall on it. I It was freezing and I didn't go out and fix it, so I didn't have a lot of success with that this year. I will try again this next coming season. But the one thing I put a lot of energy into is starting my stuff indoors. I have a whole room in my house dedicated to it, under grow lights, and giving them that extra time to develop instead of direct sowing is has been the biggest game changer for me thus far. If I can get that low tunnel honed in where I can actually just go ahead and plant those directly in the low tunnel instead of having to take all the trays out and harden them off, I think that that would be a huge energy saver for me and even give my starts an even bigger boost going into the season. Now, in terms of composting, I really only do cold composting and vermicomposting. The one thing I will say in terms of the cold composting is I really like that I have it in my chicken coop area. I like to be able to throw my scraps from my annual garden, which is 2 feet. It's connected essentially. There's a thin fence, but I can just throw it over to the chickens, let them pick through it, and then go ahead and just move it over to the compost bin and let it break down, and sort of just forget about it. Vermicomposting, I use red wigglers. I'm still playing with that. It seems like when I use it, it works. The castings, it seems to make the plants very healthy, but I'm not producing enough of it to use all over the place. So I'm sort of just um, giving it to things that either looking sad, look like they can use a boost, or things that I sort of favor over other plants. But it's a lot of fun to do, and I would like to get more into it and take it a little bit more seriously to try to produce enough castings that's a little bit more meaningful in my system. But right now, it's really more of a hobby than having an impact. Why I grow this way. So the main thing that my focus has shifted from I like to garden to I like permaculture and growing perennials. I think I mentioned this briefly, but I want to put as little input as possible and get more production. And I found that that's possible through perennials. Again, I could add more annual beds, and I still might, but those are going to have to be tended to. I'm one person, and I can only do so much. The food forest is growing on its own, and I'm seeing that it's already starting to give back to me and shift the energy from, depletion to a surplus. Now, the one of the goals that I really have is to use my space as a canvas to show other people that they can grow and start becoming more self-sufficient themselves, given whatever canvas that they have. It doesn't have to be a 50-acre, farm. It doesn't even have to be a half-acre food forest like I have. If you have a small space on, a 10 square foot balcony on your apartment, let's start there and let's decide what we like and what we can grow there. Like, let's just start somewhere. But I really want to use this as a canvas to bring people into my space, show them what's possible, and sort of give them the bug that I got that sort of came out of nowhere and want to do this stuff on their own or with help. But the other thing that my focus is shifting to is feeding an ecosystem. So originally, when I started growing, I was trying to net everything. I was trying to put, little nets around each individual fruit to try to save it from the birds. But as I see the abundance coming back more and more each year, I'm not so worried about a squirrel getting some of my haskellapes or the birds getting my elderberries or anything like that, because that's what abundance is. And I'm starting to realize that that's part of it. You have to give back to not just the community, but the ecosystem, the animals, and bringing those pollinators and animals into the system instead of trying to block them is a total shift in consciousness that I'm currently going through. And that's one of the things that I want to do more of instead of do less of. The benefits of perennials, I mean, I just mentioned that. They're giving back to me more and more. And the soil, the life around my space has just gone through the roof since I started focusing on perennials and natives. The other thing is not just perennials, it's hardy perennials. So I originally was very much into, okay, what can I grow that's exotic that you can't get at the grocery store, that's fun and cool and exotic. And although there's still a place in my heart for a lot of those things, I'm really trying to use the annual space for that type of stuff. I really want to focus on things that are going to work. Again, I don't have 50 acres, so it's not going to benefit me to plant a bunch of exotic trees that don't make it through the winter on year 3. It's not going to benefit me to plant a bunch of things that are going to get disease, um, and things of that nature. I want to plant stuff that I can plant it and I can forget it for the most part. I can come back and prune it when I need to, but that's about it. I want things that can handle the cold, are bug resistant, pest resistant, don't get disease, and that's another shift in my consciousness that I'm currently going through, and I think a lot of people do, but that's been a big part of the journey as well. This whole way of life for me has been a form of personal rebellion and a way to gain sovereignty in my life. I'm, I'm sure a lot of us feel the same way, but I look around the world, the systems that are in place, the government, all just the way of the world. And, a lot of times it makes me really sad. And for the longest time, I didn't really know what to do about it. And sometimes I still feel like I don't, but permaculture and gardening and growing is one of the ways that I've been able to feel like I'm controlling an aspect of my life and being able to have an impact on not even just myself, showing other people's around me that we can do this. We don't have to get all of our stuff from Kroger. We can be healthier. We can be more self-sufficient, and that's the biggest reason I'd say as to why I grow the way that I do. Now, our mission and our vision, I'd like to share a quote with you that really speaks to me and really speaks to our vision and our mission. And it's that true security doesn't come from global supply chains. It comes from knowing your neighbor, your farmer, and your local water source. That's Helena Norberg Hodge. And that just really speaks to me in terms of what we're trying to accomplish here. Now, our vision is really to inspire community sufficiency and hyper localization in neighborhoods by turning land into food forests. I put community sufficiency instead of self-sufficiency for a reason. I was hyper focusing on self-sufficiency and trying to do all this stuff on my own for the longest time. And it wasn't until I mean, really this year that I started getting involved with the community and realizing that I can't do all of this stuff by myself. I'm doing it by myself. Well, this year I didn't even do it all by myself. So I had been doing it all by myself, but quickly realized that I have an abundance. I don't even have enough people to share it with. I need to barter with the community. I need to trade. I need to give. And in return, I've gotten so much from my neighbors and other people in the community. And that's what I really think builds a strong community and actual self-sufficiency, but in a much broader lens. So the mission for us is to grow a diverse ecosystem of polycultures that provides an abundance for my family and wider community and using organic practices. Now, I just mentioned getting more involved in the community, and this is really my breakout year in that regard. So I just had volunteers over for the first time, and boy, did I realize having some help is, and not having to be, so controlling over my environment it could be so beneficial. And I'm not even at all hesitant after that experience. I want to do way more of that. I got to teach people. I got to give, back to them in the form of produce and things of that nature. And honestly, had a really good time just bonding with them while we worked side by side. One of the other big things that we got to do this year, there's a picture of Samantha and I. She sponsored the Pike Township Farmers Market for her real estate business, and I got to tag along, and I just was there selling my fig trees. And I got to meet so many people that are right down the street, neighbors, people in the community that have interest in this and what we're doing here. And I had no idea how much buzz that I was going to get in response to just being there and talking to people. And I think I've decided that I'm going to be a part of that farmers market moving forward. And that really just opened up my eyes. I didn't have any intention of going to market with any of this stuff originally, but that completely changed when we went there. Over here, we have a mailer that we send out quarterly. We've been doing that for a year or two now, and that's just sort of just updates the community on what we're doing over here and welcomes them to come check it out. Again, one of the biggest focuses that I have is to bring people into the space so that they can become inspired by it. So we send that out, just let them know what we're doing and that they can come get as involved as they want to, whenever they want to. We are currently in the process of building a physical farm stand, but this was the first year that we actually had enough abundance, even after we gave it away to friends and family, where we still had too much, and we got to go ahead and sell some of it as well. And that's not really the goal or the focus, but it is inspiring to me to know that, hey, maybe I can make a living doing this, and it's not that difficult, and maybe I'm not stuck in a full-time job that I'm not super fond of for a long period of time. So that was sort of inspiring. There's a little picture here of one of the gift baskets that we sort of get these together and give to the neighbors, which is always a great feeling. The other thing here, I put a picture of our deck. Samantha built a huge deck. And the reason I put a picture of this is because the focus for us again is to bring people into the space. So one of our goals is to start hosting events, workshops, things of that nature, so that people can come into the space, get inspired by it, either want to do it themselves or have help to create something along the lines of what we have, regardless of scale. And that is our homestead. And I wanted to thank you all for being here, letting me share this with you. I have my contact information down here. You can go ahead and, if you want to tag along with the journey, follow me on social media. But I also included my phone number and email here. If anybody is ever in my neck of the woods and they'd like to come check it out for themselves, I would absolutely love to have you. And you're welcome anytime. Thank you guys very much.
Thanks so much, Adriano. Does anyone else have questions for our guest today before we move on to partner shares?
I'm sorry if I wasn't seeing I not seeing the comment or the
No, it's totally fine. We don't want to interrupt you. So if anyone has extra questions, yeah, absolutely. Floor is open to you all. All right. It looks like you have
Oh,
presented and everyone is satisfied. So if you can stop sharing, I will share our information and we'll move on to partner shares.
awesome. Thank you, everybody, so much. I really appreciate it. I'm going to stop sharing.
Great.
You're incredible. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Oh, and thank you, Tanvi, for coming out. And I didn't mention the soil testing. That is something that I absolutely am going to keep up on. And thank you, Tanvi, for sharing those results with me and really teaching me a lot. I really appreciate that.
All right. So let's move forward with our partner shares and our regional highlights. So Ellie, do you want to take this away?
Yes and no. Just for those who hadn't joined yet, this is our last urban updates all as a team. And yeah, we're winding down, we're transitioning to be able to still continue urban soil health through my role, as long as we have funding to do so. But yeah, big changes at the end of this month. We still have funding for working groups through the end of 2025. And yeah, it's a conflicted time, so I want to still encourage everybody to reach out to me. Please do bug me because I don't have work unless I make it for myself or unless you ask me to be there. So I really do want to get out on farm, meet with people. Adriano, hearing from you today was just perfect timing to inspire me again that this is why we're here, is that there's folks all over our state in communities, um, you know, urban, not everywhere, right? That are folks that are doing this work because they care so passionately about it. And it's my honor to be able to meet with those folks like you and get that inspiration to keep doing the good work.
Thank you. I'm
So,
glad I could be that. Thank you.
yeah, thank you. And I want to see your place sometime soon.
Oh,
Need to meet
please,
up.
please, please, please come see it. It gets me so excited when people want to come see, so please do.
Yeah, I love seeing the photos and that timeline in such a short time. Like you've made so much change.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, good reminder about our human impact and what we can do. And please thank the team for all of their work, right? And share those stories with us. The next slide has our kudo board. Um, well, maybe it doesn't. I was a little late to get my work done. Um, So if you downloaded it, Megan, I'll share in the uh, chat. There's a Kudo board that's up, which is just a virtual place that you can share photos and um, little messages of support that can last with us. Um, and I think the only other thing I wanted to share was my personal highlight was this past couple weeks getting out to Butler Farm to be able to kick off our eight. I think there's eight on-farm trainings with conservation practices showcased from farms in every tech team area of the state. So that's happening the rest of this month. And that has really been led by Kara Bergschneider and NRCS, as well as Kevin Allison with Marion County Soil and Water, but also has partnership work with our urban soil health team and is showcasing farms that most of our regional specialists have worked with closely over these years. So please check out that invite. It's for all ICP partners who do planning on small scale farms. And hopefully we'll have a chance to be able to redo that again in the spring. We shall see. All right, that's all I have. Thank you. Just skip through those other slides.
Next is the Northwest with Tanvi.
Yeah.
I think you might have to refresh, Megan. This is
Yeah,
the most up-to-date version.
just a little, yeah. While Megan's doing that, yeah, I just want to echo what she's saying about how inspiring working here has been, and seeing places and hearing kind of the journey of each farmer, which is just so diverse inherently. Like what Adriano is trying to do is very unique and then similar to some specific urban scale people. And then at the same time, like you have slightly larger market farm gardeners, and there's different takes that each person kind of approaches what works for them. And I think it's just an incredible thing that our organization gets to tap into that network and then also bridge networks between some of these gardeners and growers and conservation partners, because that's where the advocacy part comes in that Ush is able to do. Yeah, it's incredibly inspiring. So in the Northwest, this past month has been a lot about natives, and that's one of our conservation practices is wildlife habitats, and that a lot of what was mentioned was about building soil health through natives and building resiliency in local communities. So there were a couple of different native garden installations and tours. So neighborhoods around Indy and different counties like Boone County and Hamilton they have a lot of people who are trying to um, grow natives and have converted lawns into native spaces. So doing the tour, I just thought it was really interesting to see the amount of plants and diversity of plants and the abundance of the life. I mean, there were monarchs and swallowtails and bees and all different types of insects and even birds. Like you could just hear the difference of the birds in these yards versus other yards that didn't have much. And people were just so fascinated by it. And one of the images that was in the on the side of that slide, I just thought it was kind of funny, a little pattern of like everyone was hoarding around one of the trees in the shade while one of the speakers was talking at the house, and it was just one of those funny little moments of like I've seen cows on a pasture herding around the one tree that offers a little bit of shade, and that imagery I just wanted to capture because of what native plants, trees, adding that diversity on a really small suburban urban landscape can offer, and how that is the same if you have a garden or if you're out in more rural areas doing farming, even with animals. So it was really interesting to kind of tie together soil health like what soil health and how it builds using native plants and not just annuals and vegetable plants. And a lot of them offer a lot of medicine and are still a different type of resource for us. So it was just a very native, I say naive, native plant themed month in the Northwest.
And with the Northeast, Terry.
Hey, good morning, folks. Man, I feel like I blinked and August was gone and here we are in September. There were a lot of really great things that were happening in the Northeast. And for me, the highlight was doing a learning circle, women's learning circle with Women for the Land. And it was a collaboration with Grant County and County. They wanted to focus on health, and they asked me to help support that conversation and discussion in the morning. And our top 10 booklet, to be able to have that conversation and use that as the guideline. Because with the women's learning circles, the point is to have discussions versus having that purely lecture style that we tend to lean on a little bit more heavily when we're talking about education. So, but conversations can be tough. So I really enjoyed using the top 10 booklet as the guide because it kept us on track versus the squirrel minds of gardeners wanting to follow all the little tangents that our brains go to. And so we had a really great conversation. And then I also I really enjoyed that. That was my first time trying that as a way to have those conversations. So I'll be writing up a little guide if anyone wants to steal it, because there's a few things that I learned and I'd love to share it with folks to help facilitate those conversations in your own counties and in your areas. And then the second part of the day, which is where all the pictures are, because taking a picture of a bunch of people sitting around a table having a talk just isn't that sexy. So I took most of my pictures in the afternoon when we went to Indiana Wesleyan University. Dr. Noseworthy has a farm where she does research, and this was from the North Farm that she has there. She has a high tunnel there. So kind of in the centers, you can see the high tunnel with tomatoes and some flowers. And we got to showcase just one way that somebody uses a high tunnel. She does a lot of native plants and has been doing research on having native plant pockets and how beneficial they are to farms. And it was just really lovely to see all these women come together and having great conversations on a broad spectrum too. So there are some folks that are growing simply in a pot on their patio and other folks that have a few hundred acres of land that they rent out and manage. So it was fun to bring all of these different kinds of, and everything in between, and all of these different folks together to talk about conservation on a small scale. And that was my highlight. And I hope if you guys have questions about how to facilitate the conversations using the top 10 book, I'd be happy to talk more about it with you folks. So thank you.
Thanks, Terry. Next, the Southwest with Casey.
Hi, everyone. I'm using Rhonda's computer. I don't know if you can see me or not. I've got my video on, but I don't know if you can see me. Either way. Oh, there you are. Anyway, so good to be here. The Southwest in August, it felt like a lot of outreach, field event days. Here in the big picture, Brendan Kearns with Vigo County SWCD put together an afternoon field day for us to just kind of learn from each other, check out some native plants and insects and things that were happening in this one area next to the Wabash River that had previously been used as kind of a dumping ground. So now this land is repairing itself, but the SWCD is getting involved with it. So it's turning into a nice little place, but very cool to just spend some time with others and have that community and networking out in the field. So those other pictures are from the field day, but the top right picture is from the Pathway to Water Quality at the State Fair. So the State Fair wrapped up. There was a lot of people that visited the Pathway this year. Also the soil health area on the other side where we have our raised beds, compost area, cover cropping, those top 10 practices as well. So it was a really good year at the state fair. We passed out cover crop seed, had those conversations, education and outreach. So August was a really good month for the Southwest. And that's all I've got.
Thanks, Casey. Appreciate it. In the Southeast, I just wanted to share that the Living Farm series has been just trucking along. And in the middle of the month, we were at Purdue Student Farm up in Tippecanoe County. We got to hear from Laura Ingwell on integrated pest management, their use of high tunnels, as well as transitioning to organic. So that was really fun. And I just wanted to give a shout out to everyone who worked on that, including Tanvi, because this is her region, and our partners at Purdue and partners in food and farming. Evie Barbew, it was just an excellent partner, and we couldn't be happier to work with her. Our Living Farm series for September is Sunday, September 28th from 2 to 5. That'll be at Unvarnished Farm, which is my farm, down in Jefferson County, just outside of Madison, Indiana. So please RSVP to join us. And we're going to have a farmer social afterward where we just gather and eat and drink and have a good time. The farmer socials have been a really wonderful chance to network with partners and ag professionals, as well as swap ideas and swap food, of course, because that's the best part about all of these on-farm activities is the great food. So we look forward to sharing more information about season extension and conservation through that lens. The September 28th event is going to be focusing a lot more on utilizing tarping and mulching for weed suppression and soil health. So we'll get to actually build some beds, throw some tarps around, and just have a good old time. So that's all I have for this month. And I am going to give a shout out for our Get the Dirt conference, which is tomorrow, September 4th from 8:30 to 5. We are full of participants, so that's really exciting. And then we're going to be traveling to Full Hand Farm in Noblesville, Indiana, to end the day with a tour and a social. So we're really excited about Get the Dirt, and we'll have lots of great sessions talking about soil health, hearing from farmers, and also just having a great send-off, a great celebration of the work that Urban Soil Health has done in the past 5 years. So we'll be happy to meet new faces and sad to say goodbye to old ones. But again, as Ellie said, she's going to be continuing to do that work. And so we're just happy to continue to see you all gather and in support of soil health across Indiana. Moving forward, here are some events that are going to continue throughout September into October and November. We're going to have today, Urban Updates and Get the Dirt tomorrow. There'll be a small scale on-farm training in Cambridge City, September 16th. Then cover crops and pollinators in the fall garden in Richmond, Indiana on the 18th. There'll be a hot compost workshop in Crawfordsville on the 21st. We'll be talking about cover crops and putting our beds to bed on the 23rd. And then, as I said before, the Living Farm series on the 28th. The 30th is the last day of funding for our soil health specialists. So, get in touch with your specialist if you want to stay in touch so that you can know where they're going, how to get in touch with them post September 30th. And then October 1st, we'll have another Urban Updates. And then on October 13th, the next Living Farm series will be at Williamsport, Indiana, which will be fun because that will be at Marian Rodriguez Soto's farm. And if you guys will remember, she used to be the soil health specialist in the Northeast West. So that'll be a nice reunion for the 13th. Additionally, on the 2nd, we'll have a Living Farm series in New Haven. And then November 5th, looks like another Urban Updates. So stay tuned, and obviously, please share with us if you have anything to share, and we'll be happy to shout it out for you. So who's got a partner share?
We have a upcoming event. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, I can.
Oh, okay. So I was using a different microphone than usual. Uh, been working with Tanvi and a group here in Tippecanoe County, the Lafayette Grow Local, to put together a garden tour that'll be on this September 17th. We'll be looking at 3 gardens that Grow Local manages as sharing gardens that are uh, they're run by volunteers and are open to the public to come and collect produce as a way to address food insecurity. Their kind of main garden manager got started working on much soil health practices first with Marian and then with Tanvi, and they're kind of well on their way into implementing a whole soil health system. So we'll be taking a look at that, and I can share. I guess I can put a link in the chat to that in case anybody's interested.
There just wasn't a
that's
whole
great.
lot of room in the other slide, but if you all check out the website and the event page on the website, there will be all of the other events listed.
Oh, that's on the Urban Soil Health site already?
Yeah, I put it up.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Hey, since Tippecanoe already went, or I'll add to Tippecanoe, this is not necessarily urban soil health, but I know I see a lot of our SWCDs. We do have a women's conservation learning circle on easements, and normally we fill them up very quickly, but conservation easements are their own thing. So if you have 1 or 2 women in your area that are thinking, or you might think would be a great fit for a conservation easement, we're just going to have some people from USDA share like information on easement. So just wanted to make sure all of you are aware of it. That's on, I don't even know. That's also coming in September. I can throw the event flyer on this if you'd like.
I think that's on the 16th, right?
Yeah, it sounds all right. We have a lot of events going on in September. So if you're busy, if you're bored in September, come visit Tippecanoe County.
Thanks, Chris. Anyone else?
We've got Ashley's on the chat. Ashley said the Indiana Organic Network, Purdue Organic Ag, just squared off its summer event season. We're now getting ready for winter event season. So there's the Indiana Small Farm Conference, Indiana Horticulture Conference, March 3rd to the 5th next year, and the Indiana Organic Grain Farmer Meeting, February 18th. So check that out, folks. That sounds exciting. Thanks, Ashley. And Chris just posted that Women's Learning Circle flyer on the chat too.
Anyone else want to chime in? All right. Well, I will then hand this over to any other person from the team who wants to say anything. Our next meeting is October 1st at 9. So hopefully we'll see your smiling faces again. And we look forward to continuing our networking and working as conservation professionals, whether we're wearing our urban soil health hats or not. We were all just so happy to meet you and work with you and share these experiences with you. I can't say enough about being happy to have learned so much on this job. It's really changed the way that I farm myself. So thanks, everyone. And if no one else wants anything to share, then I'll say goodbye.